Hello everyone, and welcome back to part 6 of my European Soldiers for Blood and Plunder painting guide. Today I'm going to be tackling the leather, as I promised in the last one, I remembered, I'm going to be tackling the leather straps on his soldier for his for the cartridges, for his gun, and his baldric. So what I'm going to start off with is good old coat d'arms. It's chestnut brown, number 219. It's a nice, comes out. It's a nice, rich, chestnutty brown. It's a good name. It's a good base for leather. So I'm just gonna jump straight in here. Once you can see what I'm doing, and basically. Now, because we're going over the top of the coat, I'm having to take utmost care. So not as slapdash as you've seen me in previous videos, because now it starts to really matter. So starting with the baldric here. So yeah, this is going to be another one of my base coat wash highlights techniques, but with leather being an organic material, this works best. Well, I'll start with the chestnut, because I've found, and this may just be my own experience, or kind of just where I live in the world, but a lot of the actual leathers you get, the old snakebite leather GW produces, or what I use, which is barbarian leather by Coat d'Arms, which spoiler alert, is snakebite leather. It's the same paint. It's too light. It's more like a rawhide than a cured leather. So I start with the chestnut, and what I'll be doing is giving it a wash to kind of find the details and give that bit more of organic shading, and then defines the edges as well. Then I'll be back, and for this, what I'll be doing is the highlighting technique is different to some of the other things on here. Rather than the raised areas on a lot of bits, I'll be doing the edges, which is to kind of bring out the wornness on leather, because as you know, when leather's been used for a while, it kind of tends to, I don't know if the right word's fray at the edges, but I'm going to say fray at the edges. It gets worn at the edges, and it tends to come through a little bit lighter there. So I'm doing that. The reason I'm using brown leather on these is, one, all my Spanish have brown leather, but also the brown just, you can see there, it helps warm up the mold a little bit. Right, so that's the baldric done. Just make sure you catch the edges, so you don't have a grey edge. Now again, these models are pretty good for it. They don't have huge gaps, between the straps and what the straps are meant to sit on. So it's not terrible. I just paint here. Now get on to the cartridges for the musket, which a friend of mine, Liam, has informed me they were kind of called, in slang term, apostles. As after 12 apostles. So shout out for Liam on giving me that bit of that historical tidbit, because I did not know that until about a week ago. Now another bit of history for you. These would often be painted. variety of colors. So if you want to, if you guys want to go and make them bright red or paint them yellow or whatever, that's absolutely fine. From a kind of historical point of view, there's nothing wrong with that. I paint them leather because I don't want them to distract from the main parts of the model too much. There's bits of the model I want people to notice more than the cartridges going around the model. So he's got these on the front and the back. It's assuming that you're gonna fire more than a few shots in a battle, then I don't know, shrug your shoulders and go home. Not the old style models where they have one banana clip of ammunition and then nothing else. So he's got a satchel. I'm gonna paint that brown too, because I might as well keep it consistent. Right, we're getting there. Almost there. So yeah, so I'm getting to a point with these guys now that because the colors are starting to come in properly, you're starting to see what's the details starting to fill in, what's going to be what color, what kind of ratios I'm getting in color on the model. I'm getting quite excited with them because they're looking good. You can kind of see how the colors are going to interact. So quick pro tip, pro in air quotes of course, is make sure you catch the bottom of the cartridges, because there's been times where I've been steps on, then realize I'd forgotten to do that and had to go back. Right, so next step is just the strap at the front, which again, if you look at the actual detail on these guys, considering they're single piece casts, it's remarkable. Now here, because I haven't painted the musket yet, I can go a little bit more slapdash. Just make sure I'm not gonna have any gaps. Just watch his hand, don't paint on his hand. And I mean, you don't have to be quite as slapdash as me there, accidentally painting half of the musket. That was an accident. I didn't actually. I'm not even meaning to be that haphazard, but accidents happen. And if you thin your paints just a little bit, because this is pre-thinned, this brown. I've had this brown for a while, so it's it's not thinned a lot, as you can see, just a little bit. Take the edge off it, and it's just enough to get flowing nicely and not pulling up and obscuring detail. Right, last bit is the trickiest bit, which is painting what's behind the musket, because again, these guys are single piece models, and yet they've got detail better than some multi-parts. And so it's not just a big block of lead behind the gun. There are actually his cartridges, which aren't too bad to get to, I'll be honest. The guys who are aiming are a little bit more of a challenge, but even those guys, not too bad. Right, last thing is this little powder box here. Just gonna have a leather strap on that. And is that us? Oh, just there. Right, and is that us? Let's have a quick quick once over, which again is a good piece of advice I can give you, is if you notice I did one strap then the other. Now that is actually just so I can, it's almost like so it's easier to check. I'll now follow down, do one strap, check one strap, then the other. So bandolier done, baldric done, and I'm happy with that. So and we're out. There we go. So there it is, and we'll be back with the next step once that's okay. Back in the base coat's dry. So next up, the ink wash. Now for this, I'm going to be using Citadel Known Oil shade. Yes, I know it's a black shade. I'm putting on brown, but it just comes out nice. I've obviously painting fancy miniatures over the years. I've had to paint a lot of leather, and through much trial and error, I found that the best one to do is brown. Sorry, is black on the leather. I don't know, it comes out the best, and it just kind of gives the most realistic finish. So right, so as you can see, it's not the most precise thing, but it's a wash. So what I'm doing is I'm just making sure I'm getting right up to that edge. So as well as that, I'm almost blacklining the straps a bit, so it gives you a bit of distinction between the straps and the coat. Obviously you've got the colours, which is that nice shaded edge. And that just makes the model that a little bit crisper, a little bit cleaner. And I'll give the cartridges under there a thing. Yep, that's all done there. So powder horn. So just I've done the bandolier, and now I'm going to do the baldric, which it obviously isn't going to take very long. So once you've done the base coat, really, the bulk of the work's done. Right, and there we go. That's on its way to drying. So I'll leave that till it's dry, and it'll end up looking, let's blue peter this a bit, because I've done one of the other guys already. It'll look more like that. So as you can see, it looks out of focus. That's better. It's in focus now. That looks pretty good just as it is, but we're gonna highlight the edges to kind of bring out the detail, sharpen it up, and raise our painting game a bit. So that's it for this step. I'll see you for highlights when everything's dry. Okay, wash is all dry. So on to the last step in our leather bandoliers and baldrics. So as you can see, the black ink's given a nice kind of good definition, especially on cartridges there. So it's picked out nicely. Now, as I keep saying, that would do for a quick tabletop, but it's a little bit dark, so I want to give it a little bit more and just make sure I really emphasize the leather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my base coat, which you notice I do a lot of, and now I'm going to add some Coat d'Arms Barbarian leather. So my first mix is going to be 50% chestnut brown, 50% barbarian leather, and as always, a little bit of thinning medium. So Not a huge amount, because I'm doing edge highlights here, so I don't want it to be too thin, 'cause I don't want it to run. But just a little bit so it flows, because I don't want it to run, I don't want it to clump. There's my barbarian leather. My custom chestnut brown even. I'll put this here so y'all can actually see what I'm doing. So as you can see, it's about 50-50. Close enough for jazz. Get that mix. That's a little bit too light because obviously I still had more on my brush. So I'm going to add a little bit more. I want it to be... That's about what I want for my second highlight, not my first. There we go. There we go. And then there's a tiny bit. About half a brush worth. And brush I'm using just crappy art brush. Nothing special. And now what I'm gonna do is, whereas with Standard Baldric, best way to highlight it is with the trousers and with the jacket, I was highlighting the center where I want the light to catch it best. For the Baldric, I'm just highlighting the edges. Now for this I'm using a 00 brush, but it's a Winsor & Newton 00 brush, and they are good brushes. They hold a very good point on them. So if you're using a kind of a less fancy brush, we'll call it. I was going to say it's a fancy brush. They're a Christmas present, and they are game changers. They are great brushes. I would, at this point, recommend, if you're serious about getting some nicely painted models, investing a little bit on brushes. There's plenty of makes out there. I use these because I know the reputation of them, and I like the brush itself. I'd like them better if they had a triangular grip, but you can't have everything. But if you go out, get yourself some sable brushes, you will not look back. They do make a difference. The paint just flows off them better, and yeah, they just make your life a lot easier to do. They won't paint the model any better, but they will make it easier for you to paint the model better. So, as you can see, just doing the edge highlight on there. Same for the bag. I'll move over to the bandolier now. And though you've got this big, let's get you into focus. You've got this big raised surface here. I'm just doing the edge. If you're doing this technique and you're doing it on quite a thin leather strap, just do the edge highlight on one side, unless you have the steadiest hand ever. And just go for a gradient. Because if you try to do it on both sides, all you end up doing is coloring the whole thing in. So just go for the gradient. So I'm going to do cartridges last. So, as I was saying before, I'm doing an edge highlight just so it gives the impression of worn leather. rather than of cloth. Obviously, if I was doing doing a similar thing as a silk sash, I would paint it I would paint it from the middle. I'd highlight it out from the middle. That gives it a clothy look rather than rather than the leather look. Sorry, I just completely fudged out there for a second. I was painting. So thank you all that stay with me. There was no technical difficulty there besides with the presenter. So there we go. I'm just picking out the courage, the top. Just, there you go. Do the same on the front. The last little bit to do is this tiny little leather strap here. And that, as I recommended, I'm only doing on one side because there's just not enough brush to paint. So there we have it. There's the first layer done. So what I'm going to do is a little bit more leather to the mix. Now for this, I would recommend, unless you've got a very steady hand or very good brushes, or both. See, there we go, there's the difference in colour. So, quite subtle. And for this, I'm just picking out the very edge. And this, if you want to just do it on the raised areas, or if you're going for the full edge effect, you do a nice gradient. But if you want to just do on the raised areas, that's fine. That's fine. You will get away with it. This is more to accentuate. Or if you're doing it on a larger leather surface, I would recommend this on just to show areas of wear. Right. There we go. Just tiny bit. Each one of these. Oh, I'm out of focus again. Sorry, guys. Because I'm really focusing on the actual painting. I'm not really being the best cameraman today either. So apologies for that. Hope you're still following it. Right, so like I was saying, on the bag, I'm just gonna do this corner, where the bag, where the most likely the rub of the bag would be. I'll do this corner, and along the top. So there we go. Just do this bandolier. And if you find you've gone too far in, you've kind of started highlighting the middle of the straps, go back with your base coat, just quick touch up, job's done. Right. So like I said, and let's just finish our gradient off on that one. Right, so there you have it. Just a bit more light on that so you can see. So there you have it. There's your leather done. Bit of a different technique than before, but there you go. See how the bag's got a nice worn leather effect going on. That's what we're after here. So that's that. Well, thank you for watching. If you like what you see, leave a comment in the section. Please like and subscribe to Rage Against the Dice if you don't. They've been very nice to let me do this guide on their channel, so I'm grateful to them. I hope this has helped. If it has, that's great. If you'd like to see anything else, please just let me know, and I shall see you guys next time. Thank you.